That being said, I'm going to start with our in-house folks. One person I did not introduce under the EMAT is our senior leadership team sponsor for EMAT, Mr. Tom Dean. Tom?
They asked me to come in, give some words about what this means to me. So, I was in the Navy for 8 years, from 1992 to 2000. I joined the military, joined the Navy, I would say a lot off the influence of my grandfather. He had a big influence in my life. I grew up really had a father, he was my father figure, and he really wanted to be like my grandfather. And he almost wasn't here. So I just want to share a story that he told me only a couple of times. It was very tough for him to tell me this story. I got this off the internet. It's a really good story. It's in the eyes of this Harlan Twibble, who was an ensign aboard the USS Indianapolis. That was the ship that my grandfather was assigned to. So here's a little story about the USS Indianapolis, in case you don't know about this ship. So Twibble, he was an ensign there. He recounted the event. So I'm going to paraphrase some of his words he used for this event. And it's involved in close to the end of World War II. And it noted the aftermath of victory, and it's very scarce to remember today. The USS Indianapolis was a lightly armored battle cruiser commissioned in 1932. It was the same size and sturdy as a battleship and equipped with the same guns. However, it could speed a fight faster than any other vessel of the same size or larger. It was because of this latter ability, plus Captain McVeigh's brilliant naval record, that the USS Indianapolis was chosen to carry the first atomic bomb to Tinian Island. The ship displayed 10 battle stars on its bridge. Captain McVeigh, he was awarded Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart medals. And from Tinian, this awesome weapon, codenamed Little Boy, would be loaded on the Air Force B-21 bomber, Enola Gay, and dropped on Hiroshima, Japan, August 6, 1945. The second bomb, Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later, with this Japanese surrendered unconditionally, and World War II finally was over. The Indianapolis left Mare Island, California Navy shipyard July 6, 1945. The secret cargo not known even to the Captain McVeigh. His orders were to deliver this mysterious package to Tinian with all possible speed, covered 5,000 miles in a record 10 days. Cargo wasn't even that large. It was a steel box welded to the deck in the room of the officer's quarters. It had a heavy lead container, which Twibble, he was the ensign, he recognized as a large radium flask, was suspended from a ceiling and a rope suspended. Captain McVeigh's orders directed him to save the secret cargo at all costs in the event of a sinking, even if necessary, to commandeer a lifeboat from drowning sailors. We know that the flask contained 137 pounds of uranium-235. So it was the explosive material that would destroy Hiroshima in a split second. The steel box contained the hardware for Little Boy and Fat Man. Okay, the uranium for Fat Man had already arrived at Tinian by plane. After delivering the secret cargo at Tinian, Captain McVeigh turned his ship around and headed east to rejoin the fleet at the Philippines. On the way there, 2 Japanese submarines, still operational, raised periscope to take a look around for a nightly charging of their batteries for their diesel engines. It took only 10 minutes for them to recognize they swung their sub around to get a head-on fix. They fired 3 torpedoes in a 3-degree fan-shaped pattern. The two torpedoes hit the Indianapolis bow, blowing it clean away. Captain McVeigh rushed to the bridge in his undershorts, but nothing could be done. All electrical communications destroyed. The ship's great engines continued to push ahead, scooping in tons of water per second. Within 3 minutes, the ship listed so far to starboard that the main deck was only a foot above water. McVeigh ordered to abandon ship by passing this word, but that was impossible because the ship was already too far inside to permit foot passage. And then Twibble recounts his personal recollection of the scene. He said he was relieved of his watch, was leaving the gun tub when he heard the explosion. He simultaneously felt a tear in his side. Without thinking, he reached down and felt wetness and blood. And then he said, "There's no time to think about my problem. I had other responsibilities." He had to attend to his crew. He said the ship sank within 12 minutes, just 12 days before the end of the war. On hitting the water, he yelled, swim away, and men did so. Otherwise, they would have been struck by the ship. Being an ensign, he waited for someone of senior rank to take charge. No one did. No one. It was all up to him. He said we'd all die if we didn't get orders. So he had to get order all his folks. They only had four rafts. He ordered them to clear so that only the serious, most wounded were aboard those 4 rafts. There's a warrant officer nearby, and he instructed everybody. His 49-year-old war officer says, follow the orders of this 23-year-old ensign, and everyone did. He had everyone count off, and there was only 325 people that counted off. This is a ship of 1,196 men. As the dawn went into midday, men started to die of their wounds. Dead bodies drifted among. They started saying prayers as they drifted away. It was clear in the second day that the next priority was sharks. They attacked those that were separated from the group. The sharks ate the extremities of those they chose, and the rest of the body would pop up to the surface. They organized a shark watch thereafter, instructing men to kick and scream when sharks were sighted. For the next 3 days, they witnessed violent deaths without knowing whether there was any hope of survival. It seemed every hour to bring new problems. Men still had their firearms and knives, and then they had to realize they had to be disarmed. They were trying to drink the seawater. Others grabbed booze and trying to drink booze, which causes dehydration. But then finally, they were saved. They saw a flying boat and a cargo plane return and drop lifeboats filled with survival gear. It goes on to the captain's side of it. So again, with 1,196 men on that aboard a ship, only 317 survived. Captain Vey, he was court-martialed for suffering a vessel of the Navy to be hazarded by failing to proceed in a zigzag course. This was a procedure thought to make it difficult for any submarines to target on. Even so, it was not even required on dark nights. They ended up interviewing the Japanese captain, and he said the zigzag would have no effect. They still would have taken the ship down. McVeigh was penalized 100 numbers in grade rank, relegated to shore duty upon recommendations from Admiral King and Admiral Nimitz, and reviewed by Secretary of the Navy Forstall, and sentence was remitted. He was claimed to be a scapegoat for the Navy. He did, however, later on, continue to move up in the ranks. He did end up becoming a rank of Rear Admiral. He retired from the Navy in 1949 and resided in Connecticut. Though vindication of any dereliction of duty, McVeigh never overcame the emotional trauma of losing the USS Indianapolis and 880 men, the largest single number of Navy deaths during World War II. He and Twiggle kept in contact throughout the years, and McVeigh called him his younger shipmate to chat 2 days before McVeigh committed suicide. The former brave captain was found with a revolver in his right hand and in his left hand, a toy sailor. So my grandfather told me this story a few times, and he was not on the ship that day. He, the day before the ship left San Francisco, he had to stay back and get dental work. He didn't want to stay back. He fought everyone. He wanted to be with his team when they went out there, but he stayed back. And he obviously to this day he's here, but he tells me a story that must have been God's plan. It was not his time to go. And there, he would say, all my friends, I lost all my friends, his roommates, everyone perished during that war. So it had a big impact on me, a big impact on the ultimate sacrifice that those sailors did in that day, what it meant to my grandfather and what it meant to me. So I want to share that with you today about how important Veterans Day. Think about those who were given the ultimate sacrifice, and just remember this day. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. All right, so out of curiosity, in the room, Army. I can't believe you guys are silent. Army. Okay. All right, that's Schulman, that's done. Marines? There you go. Air Force?
Airborne.
Navy? Right, Coasties? Nope, okay. Still got ready. right, I will move into, we'll let Mr. Brad Bellows come up. And yes, those of you who don't know Brad, our plant manager.
Okay, so that's a tough program to follow, right? I mean, I am not a veteran, and all I can say for everybody in here is thank you for your service. We try to do something nice every year and just show a little bit of our appreciation with the lunch. I know we got a great guest speaker today, and you know I listened to all the things that the different programs that are available to help veterans. You know, my father was a Vietnam veteran, and I got to see how that affected him in his life. And I'll tell you that I wish I knew that there were some of these programs available, because I could have got my dad some help that he really needed. So please take advantage of those things. It's important. It's important to take care of yourself and use what's available out there. So the CMAC organization, I'd like to see how, just started this year, right? And it's already, you look at what it's doing for the stations and what it's doing for the community. It's fantastic. I don't need to tell anybody in here because you're probably all part of it, but continue to reach out to see who we can add to that organization, because with more people comes better support for others and great things we can do. And then finally, Ted couldn't be here today, and this is one of Ted's favorite days, is Veterans Day, and the celebration for that. So I wanted to apologize from him that he's not here today. He's actually on the East Coast. He had some VP meeting out there, so he really misses being here, and wanted to tell everybody thanks. So I'll be very brief. I'm going to turn it back over. But great job so far. Thank you very much.
I'll do some logistics here real quick. I am going to also remind everybody that our Excellent Giving campaign is, recipient is the honor flight, on the Land of Lincoln honor flight. I got the right one, you got too soon. Is the Land of Lincoln honor flight. There again, our red shirts that we have on, you see some of us have on, they're for sale. All the proceeds goes to the Land of Lincoln honor flight. It's a great program. If you haven't done your Excellent Giving campaign pledge cards, please do so and select the honor flight. It's a great program. Now, that being said, I have the distinct honor of introducing our keynote speaker this afternoon. Mr. Brent Gleeson is a Navy SEAL combat veteran with multiple tours to Iraq and Africa. Upon leaving SEAL Team 5, Brent turned his discipline and battlefield lessons to the world of business and has become an accomplished entrepreneur, author, and acclaimed speaker on topics ranging from leadership and building high-performance teams to culture and organizational transformation. Brent is the founder and CEO of Taking Point Leadership, a progressive leadership and management consulting firm with focus on business transformation and building high-performance cultures. Brent has degrees in finance and economics from Southern Methodist University, certificates in English and history from Oxford University in England, and a graduate business degree from the University of San Diego. He is a best-selling author of Taking Point and Navy SEAL's 10 Fail-Safe Principles for Leading Through Change, which is a great book, I recommend it, which has a #1 new release on Amazon, Organizational Change and Business Structural Adjustment. And without further ado, please welcome Mr. Brent Gleeson.
How are you guys doing this afternoon? Is this too loud?
No.
No? You don't think so? Okay. And this, all right, there's the clicker. You guys feeling good?
Yeah.
Any of you guys over here want to move over here? We're actually pretty full, but if anybody feels like they want to, or you're sitting behind a pillar, please come on over. I won't spit on you, I promise. You guys fired up to be here?
Yeah.
Happy Veterans Day, all of you. Before I go any further, of course, I want to humbly thank each and every one of you for your service and sacrifice. As most of you know, especially those who've gone down range, your service and sacrifice does not end when you transition into the civilian world. So thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Let's try this one more time. How are you guys feeling? All right, people, let's get something straight. We will do burpees and push-ups. It's all around groups in here, I assure you. One more time. How are you guys feeling today? All right. Well, again, thank you guys so much for having me. It's truly an honor and pleasure to be here with all of you this afternoon. So when a SEAL platoon, or any platoon for that matter, I have to be inclusive today, is on patrol in enemy territory, or sneaking into an enemy compound, the man in front is what? He's the point man. He's taking point, leading his team into what we call VUCA environments. And yes, this audience knows we live by hundreds, if not thousands of acronyms in the United States military. And VUCA refers to the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environments that we operate in. That acronym is now widely used in the global business community and the civilian world, and rightfully so, I think. It refers to the more disruptive, fast-paced, ever-changing and transforming global business landscape that we're quite frankly all a part of in this modern 21st century environment. Think about all the changes you guys have faced over the past few years, yes? A little bit of change, constant change, constant disruption, changes in legislation, changes in the economic environment, structural and process changes within your own organization, externalities that force you guys to do more with less. All these changes have very significant implications, and I want to talk a lot about not just the structural and process changes, but the cultural implications that must be managed to ensure that those positive changes stick. In fact, in the 2017 KPMG CEO Outlook Report, 65% of CEOs actually now see change and disruption in their industries and their organizations, not as a threat, but as an opportunity to take advantage of that change, to increase their competitive advantage. And 74% at least claim they'll be investing more time, energy, and resources into improving organizational culture and employee engagement in order to better navigate those changes, become more resilient, and maintain their competitive advantage. So naturally, you know this was coming. I had to draw a simple military correlation here. Another great organization that has stood the test of time, overcome a lot of adversity and disruption over the past 17 years, the United States military. Agreed? Yeah. All that change, all that disruption, how have we continued to evolve and adapt, to change our systems, our structures, our process, our mindset, in order to sustain this fight and defeat a very dangerous and decentralized enemy? In large part, it is due to our very well-defined and distinct organizational culture. A culture founded on the principles of leadership at all levels, adaptability. We too, and I think you would agree, lean into change and disruption and use it to our competitive advantage. High levels of trust and accountability woven into the fabric of that culture. Resilience. We bounce back from adversity better than any other organization in the world. And a relentless, never-quit attitude. The secret to our success is that our culture, our mindset, and our way of thinking perfectly matches our strategic vision and desired result, which is to win. You guys like winning?
Yeah.
You guys want to do burpees or what? You guys like winning?
Yeah.
Well, that winning leadership mindset of resilience, perseverance, determination always reminds me of a great quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that says, "If you can't fly, you run. If you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, you crawl. No matter what, you keep moving forward." In the SEAL teams, we have an ethos, a creed that embodies our culture and our core values. And a similar line from that ethos states, "I will not quit. I persevere and thrive on adversity. And if knocked down, I will get back up every time. I am never out of the fight." And that, my friends, that mindset that each and every one of you in this room has had in your careers, that mindset of determination, of leadership, is how each and every one of you can continue to take point in your roles in this organization to navigate change, to achieve winning results, and what it means for each of you, for all of us, in our work, in our lives, to be all in, all the time. A little bit, right? Constant chaos. And being all in all the time is a philosophy we hold dear in the SEAL teams. It resonates military-wide. In our community, that phrase was originally coined by one of our fallen SEAL Team 6 team leaders, a guy named Tommy Valentine. And when he would indoctrinate new guys into SEAL Team 6, or officially known as Naval Special Warfare Development Group, he would sit them down and ask them about what they felt their level of participation on the team should be. It wasn't a trick question, and there was only one answer, which was to be what? All in, all the time. We lost Tommy a few years ago in a training accident. They were doing a nighttime high altitude jump. His chute failed, his reserve failed, and as he was struggling to, excuse my language, but in the military we say, unfuck this situation. Sorry. When he realized he would not get out of the situation, he very calmly got on the radio. Keep in mind, he's plummeting 130 miles an hour towards the face of the earth. Got on the radio, told his teammates that were listening to tell his wife and his kids that he loved them, to take care of them. He told his teammates that he loved them. He said, no regrets, all in. And then he was gone. Well, it's December of 1999 when I first made my decision to be all in. As some of you recall, in a fit of youthful foolishness and indiscretion, I quit my corporate finance job and joined the United States Navy with an unrealistic dream of becoming a SEAL. A decision, of course, that would forever change my life, set me on the path that I'm on today. So this afternoon, I would like to share a little bit of that journey with you, share some stories from training, from the battlefield, so to speak. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the disciplines and principles that we learn in the military, in our service, and how you can apply those principles here, and are applying those principles here. The principles of leadership at all levels, adaptability, aligning culture with strategy and desired results, learning how to measure and improve accountability, discipline and trust, and bringing all those pillars of a high-functioning organization together to better navigate change and achieve winning results. And hopefully give you guys some insights, some key takeaways, and maybe even a little bit of inspiration you can apply to your lives, both professionally and personally. So let's dive in, shall we? Everybody in push-up position now. Let's dive in, shall we? Yes. I did a lot of push-ups in SEAL training, usually in the classroom. So as a bit of background, I grew up in the great nation of Texas. Do we have any Texans in the room? Oh, thank God. Every now and then that backfires, not one damn Texan in the whole room, and then I have to pity the entire audience, you know what I mean? A little fun fact for you guys. At any given time, about 1/3 of all active duty SEALs are from where? You're damn right, gentlemen. Now I know this is a very data-driven organization. Let's not go fact check that data. But I'm pretty sure it's accurate. Just let me have this moment. I need to believe that this is true. So I grew up in Dallas. I was a swimmer in high school, played rugby in college. I attended undergrad at Southern Methodist University, earning degrees in finance and economics. So naturally, of course, I took a job as a financial analyst upon graduation with a large investment firm. Now at that time, I had a close friend of mine in college. He was a year behind me, so I was out in a civilian corporate environment and he was a senior. Now he was in fact one of these young men who had a lifelong dream, a passion, a purpose, of one day graduating, joining the Navy, and at least attempting to make it into the notorious SEAL training pipeline. I thought that was admirable, again, highly unrealistic, so I wished him well. But we actually started training together. For me, it was just a way to stay fit, help a friend prepare for an arduous journey. And over time, obviously, we started spending a lot of time together during those training sessions, having a lot of dialogue about the history of the Naval Special Warfare community, what it means to serve in that regard, at that level. And I started reading a couple books and then another book. And when I found out that, those early stage books by Dick Marcinko, when I found out that every SEAL can bench press 500 pounds, we eat glass, we shit fire. It's not true, none of it. I've never bench pressed 500 pounds my entire life. As much as I would like to say it was a very sophisticated mindset transformation, I was like, that's some cool shit, I want to do that. So that, coupled with the very boring nature of my entry-level financial analyst position, led me to the ultimate decision to quit my job. One day I wrote my parents a letter. This is back when you youngsters in the room don't recall this, but we wrote letters with pens and paper and we put them in the mail. Went into very formal Dallas parents and sent them a letter saying I was quitting my job and enlisting in the United States Navy. Well, that went over like a turd in a punch bowl, people. After they realized I was serious and passionate about it, they were very supportive. But before I did that, actually, to take it back a step, obviously my close friends, family, colleagues realized this growing passion for my own possible dynamic career path shift. So one day I was talking to my twin brother, wanted to use him as a sounding board. I will preface this. Do we have any twins in the room? Yeah, I'll preface this by saying we're fraternal twins. We're polar opposites in just about every regard you could possibly imagine. But I wanted to run this idea by him before I ran it up the chain of command to mom and dad. Who would no doubt be a little shocked by this dramatic shift, and you know what he was doing? Supportive brother that he is. That's right, he was laughing his ass off. He was like, Brent, yeah, okay. That's good, that's a good one. Once he finally composed himself, he was Brent. I mean, I don't really know much about the program, but I know one thing for sure. There is no way in hell you could ever do that. I mean, these guys are, aren't they supposed to be tough? Like world-class warriors or something? You, my friend, are not tough at all. I mean, let's break it down even further. Well, you have allergies. Really bad allergies. There's tissue wadded up on the floor over there. Is that yours? And you have asthma. You're literally wheezing right now as we have this conversation. You wear those thick contact lenses. You can't see shit. How's that going to work? And remember last week when you thought I forgot about this, but remember last week when you cried a little bit during that TV commercial? Yeah, don't know much about the program, but pretty sure SEALs are nerdy, sniffly, emotional financial analysts who cry during a Clorox bleach commercial. So let's just forget we had this conversation and stick with your nerdy finance job. Well, now I knew I had to do it, right? This is a true story. Literally 6 days later, I quit my job and my buddy and I moved up to Crested Butte, Colorado, where we trained for an additional 6 months for about 5 hours a day at 10,000 feet altitude to get into the best physical condition that we could. Then in early 2000, joined the Navy, and after a couple months of basic training, was on a plane headed out to sunny San Diego, California, where I would begin my journey. And I can tell you with exact certainty and clarity, like it was yesterday, that I have never been more nervous in my entire life than the day I stepped foot into the lobby of the Naval Special Warfare Training Center. Because it's a very scary and depressing thing, my friends. You guys know this. Knowing for a fact that your life is going to be pure hell and misery for many months to come. But of course, at this point, there was no turning back. I had to be all in. So I'll tell you another interesting fact. Let's put our talent acquisition and employee retention hats on here for a minute. Who's my HR lady in the room? We'll appreciate this, thank you. Little fun fact for you guys. It now takes 18 months and costs about $4.5 million to train and acquire one Naval Special Warfare operator, one SEAL. Wow. $4.5 million. So you can imagine how much employee retention is a big priority of ours. We'll talk about that later. The first 6 months of that 18-month program is called BUDS, which, again, another one of our freaking acronyms. Stands for Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL. It's a throwback to our forefathers from World War II. And if any of you have seen the SEAL movie Lone Survivor, unfortunately based on a true story, the opening scenes are actually from a Discovery Channel documentary about BUDS Class 234. We run classes 6 times a year, so every 2 months. I followed them in 235. I was present for all this filming, and this will give us just a little teeny tiny taste of what BUDS is all about. Take a look. Thank you.
6 times 3. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Hurry up. 18. Oh!
Ring the bell 3 times, put your helmet on the ground, you're done.
Come back! You don't make it! You do it again! Have you been tested this hard ever in your life?
Never.
Winning here is a conscious decision. make up your mind whether you want to pass or choose to fail.
All right, now, gentlemen, I'm going to introduce y'all to something called not being able to breathe.
Andrew, come back. Come back to the light. Take all this shaking and all this cold, harness it, turn it into aggression. You just prove to your bodies, through your mind, that you can push yourself further than you thought possible. Don't get wet! Run! I met my limit, so that's it. Sure you want to be here? Yes, I do. Are you absolutely sure? Of course he is! Whatever you have to do, just find an excuse to win. Keep going. It pays to be a winner!
I like having my buddies that I can depend on, and I would like for them to be able to depend on me.
You guys are our band of brothers.
What do you guys think? Does that look fun? Ah, that brings back such fond memories. There's always going to be things that we miss from our military service and things we absolutely do not miss, correct? Correct. Now, the funny thing is, what you just saw was a depiction of only the first 3 weeks of BUDS. BUDS has about, these days, about an 85 to 90% failure rate, ultimately, once you finish the pipeline, of highly capable candidates. So imagine those types of activities going on for months and months at a time, and then the irony is the training actually becomes more difficult after that. This is a picture of my graduating class, intentionally grainy to preserve people's identities. But let's do the math really quick. About on average, 1,000 guys apply for each of those 6 classes a year. About 1,000 applied for our class. Of that 1,000, only 250 were selected to begin the training pipeline. Of that 250, only 23 graduated, earning the right to wear the SEAL Trident pin. I might get chastised for this, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate. The interesting thing about this pin is that it's the only, one of, if not the only, emblem of the United States military where the eagle's head is fully bowed. Bowed in memory of those that forged the path ahead of us. Another line from the SEAL ethos states, "My trident is a symbol of honor and heritage, bestowed upon me by the heroes that have gone before. It embodies the trust of those that I am bound to defend. It is a privilege I must earn every day." Your roles as leaders, former service members, leaders in this organization, especially facing a lot of change, is a privilege each of you have to earn every single day, leading by example, earning every single day simply by asking yourself, what will I do today to be the best, most valuable, and effective member of this organization that I can be? Or as we say in the teams, how will I earn my trident today? So after summer combat tours, I left the teams, went back to school, and became an entrepreneur. And while those companies at times were blessed with rapid growth, I was also in a new environment. Yes, there's leadership and management skills we all learn in the military. This was the civilian world. And in this modern 21st century environment, it moves at the speed of war, as I say. And I was faced with leadership and management challenges that I didn't have the answers to. I was forced to do more with less, to lead organizational change and transformation, a leadership skill set that I didn't even have yet. So I was basically faking it until I was making it, making a lot of mistakes, a lot of setbacks. And it wasn't really until I leaned back into and started reflecting on all those disciplines and principles that we learn as military leaders. And when I say leaders today, I'm talking about at all levels, regardless of rank, title, or tenure. all those disciplines and principles that we learn in our military service, that we take with us downrange to win the mission, to protect our brothers and sisters, all those disciplines can be applied in a civilian business organization to achieve better results, to improve culture, to improve engagement and participation. And it wasn't until I started actually actively ingraining those structures, process, and cultural principles in those organizations, they started to grow in a more healthy manner. They became more resilient to bounce back from adversity and were more readily able to navigate change. So later in mission, we'll be talking about how we can look at some of those principles, and you guys can take these principles to this organization to navigate the changes you're facing, the changes you have faced, and the changes that are coming down the pipeline, to become a more resilient organization, more adaptive, more agile, and continue to achieve winning results. So like anything else, any high-performing team, whether it be the military, professional sports, business organization, it all starts with building a winning culture. As SEALs, we train for war and we fight to win. Failure to execute our job functions in training or on the battlefield is not an option. That obviously is military-wide, not just in the SEAL teams, but that's from our ethos, so I had to put it that way. But again, it's our mindset, it's our organizational culture that drives that initiative to get that desired result. The culture of discipline, accountability, and trust. And that's how we build in the military, especially in special operations. It's how we build winning teams that are much greater than the sum of their parts, right? All these things can be applied in the civilian context. So for the next few minutes, I want you to really reflect on how you would define the culture of this organization. How important is culture to navigating change, to achieving your desired results? Is it a nice-to-have social variable? Is it a less relevant management tactic? Or does culture drive the health, productivity, and efficiency of the most well-run organizations? In fact, in the 2017 Deloitte Human Capital Trends Report, senior leaders, managers from different types of organizations all over the world that were surveyed cited the areas of organizational culture, employee engagement, and employee retention as what they defined as urgent. Basically, areas in their organization that they needed to apply immediate attention to in order to better navigate change and continue to maintain their competitive relevance in their industry. And a key data point that came from that survey was that today's workforce, especially in multi-generational workforces, today's workforce, especially the younger generations that are coming into the workforce today, they care deeply about the culture, the vision, the purpose, so the why behind the organization and what they're trying to achieve, and that workplace environment. So that's an interesting data point to think about when we talk later about the importance of employee engagement and participation when it comes to navigating change. But, unfortunately, according to Global Gallup research from last year, even though unemployment, as we know, is at an all-time low, employee disengagement in the United States is at an all-time high. Only 15% of the workforce can be defined as engaged. Thinking about your military service, engagement means we're emotionally connected to that mission area. We understand how our job function drives mission success for the organization. We're all in all the time. We go above and beyond. We're team players. We're collaborators. We do everything we can to drive mission success above our own selfish desires. But the interesting thing about this 67% in any workforce environment is that they're often hard to identify. And I've seen this in my own companies. Oftentimes they're relatively happy in their role, but they clock in, they clock out, they collect a paycheck. Not necessarily going above and beyond, not necessarily all in all the time. Not team players, not really the best collaborators. Basically, they do the bare minimum. And then, of course, we've all worked with these people. We have what I call the actively disengaged. These are the toxic assholes that are actually working against the organization, especially during times of change. And oftentimes, the actively disengaged are subject matter experts. So they garner a certain level of respect. We never see this in the military, though, right? Never. They've been around a long time. They're subject matter experts, but they're toxic. They create a toxic environment, and they create a following of toxic people because they have that tenure and they have that level of respect. But just because you have tenure and subject matter expertise doesn't make you an A player. It doesn't make you a highly engaged team member. And that's the responsibility, especially to the point earlier, of this group in this organization, because of the experiences you've had in the United States military. It's your responsibility to take these to the organization, across the organization, to prioritize building a great culture, especially as you go through change. A lot of change causes process change, structure change, system changes, new things to learn, new competing priorities. But if we don't shift the culture to align with those new system changes, then those changes statistically don't stick, because there's not a new mindset and a way of thinking and approaching how we do things, just like in the military's constant state of transformation in our post 9/11 reality. So it's our responsibility as leaders and managers to prioritize culture transformation and employee engagement, and that's the opportunity. This is a problem, but it's an opportunity to transform these disengaged people in the organization into your actively engaged team members, and then you build a high-performance organization that can more readily face change and successfully navigate change. But again, as we know, there's certain systems and tactics you can do to improve engagement in any employee in an organization, giving meaningful work, opportunities for personal and professional growth and development, creativity, innovation, autonomy, and decision-making. Outside of that, it really comes down to, again, aligning leadership behaviors with the culture and strategy to achieve a desired result within the organization, a mission narrative that people can emotionally connect to. But as we know, oftentimes in an organization or a team, culture can be, it's a little elusive, kind of sometimes hard to identify, definitely difficult to manage at times, especially during times of change and disruption. And you can really define culture in two dimensions. One is people interactions, so how people interact with one another in the organization. And the second is how the organization deals with change. People interactions can be further divided into two buckets. One is independence, so a culture that's a little bit more autonomous, more entrepreneurial, and the other is interdependence, an organizational culture that is more focused on teamwork, team orientation to achieve goals. And then how you deal with change in an organization can be divided into two buckets. One is stability, so an organization that creates consistent structure, consistent process, doesn't usually deviate from that. And one is flexibility, one of agility and adaptation. Oftentimes you can have a little bit of both, especially during times of change. And a lot of research shows that you can divide culture into basically 8 unique culture styles. Most teams, most organizations, the military too, will embody at least 2 or 3 of these culture styles organically. And oftentimes when that organization is faced with change, it's not just the systems and structures that have to change, it's a little bit of that culture shift to make that change last. So some of those culture styles, one of them is learning. So an organizational culture based on creativity, innovation, constant learning. One is enjoyment, so a happy workplace environment where people are joking around all the time, that you enjoy coming to work. One is results, so a very goal-oriented organization hell-bent on winning at all times. Authority, so your more typical traditional military style of command and control, very siloed, very structured. Purpose, so think of a nonprofit, for example, always focused on the higher cause. Another one is caring, so an environment that's more like a family where we take care of one another. Order, again, more structure, more process. And safety, an organization that focuses on preparation and planning and avoiding risk. So by way of kind of explaining this, and I want you guys to reflect in your own minds how you think that this organizational culture could be defined, what culture styles do you naturally embody or see here in this company. By way of explaining, I wanted to show you what the pre-9/11 culture of the special operations community looked like. Essentially, obviously, we're a learning culture, very focused on innovation and creativity. Results, we like to win, right? And authority. I was hesitant to use this one, but because we've changed to a more agile organizational structure, but it's pre-9/11 military. It's authority, right? This is what we look like in our post-9/11 reality. Still an innovative, creative organizational culture, focused on winning, but we had to move away from this authoritarian structure because when we entered these conflicts after 9/11, as you recall, as an organization, we entered as a very slow-moving, very, what I say, overmanaged, underled, very siloed and structured, command and control, 20th century organization. And we, at that time, thought we were fighting the same organizational structure, which we are not. We are fighting a very dangerous and decentralized enemy, networks, ecosystems. We are this, and they were this. So we quickly realized that to move at the speed these wars required, we had to start redesigning our systems, our structures, our process, internal, external communication strategies, how we work with coalition partners, allied forces, as you recall. And eventually, we had to evolve our culture and mindset to ensure that those structural and process changes actually stuck, which, as you can imagine, for the United States military was a very, very difficult process. And we're still not even there yet, not even in special operations. But this is what our culture looks like now, because now we all, as you guys know, have a higher purpose, a higher cause, which is to defeat our nation's enemies, or as I like to say, purge the world of evil. We talked a little bit about accountability earlier. In any high-functioning, high-performance organization, accountability as part of the culture matters as much as anything else we do on the job, especially from a leadership and management standpoint, and especially during times of change. In the SEAL ethos, it says, in the absence of orders, I will take charge, lead my team, and accomplish my mission. I lead by example in all situations. So, as a part of building accountability into the culture of our organization, every single week, the entire 18-month training pipeline, we perform what I refer to as an accountability drill. Wonderful evolution called the top 5, bottom 5. It's essentially an anonymous peer review process. You guys ever done peer reviews before? 360s? Kind of sucks sometimes, right? Self-evaluation is the worst possible way to see how you really are within a team. So what we do every Friday afternoon before you get secured for the weekend is the instructors will bring the class into the classroom, and they actually look just like this. Sit down and they'll pass out sheets of paper. On that paper are 5 lines on the top, 5 lines on the bottom, spaces for comments, and you are instructed to anonymously rank who you believe the top 5 performers are in the class, and who you believe the bottom 5 performers are in the class. And I know what you're thinking, wow, that's pretty cool, a positive motivation, get to see who the top 5 guys are? Nope, they never tell you who the top 5 are. Those people, that would be positive reinforcement. And we do not deal in positive reinforcements in military training. We deal only in negative reinforcement. So what do? They take all the names, yes sir, in the bottom 5 and post them right there on the whiteboard next to the door, with a check next to your name for how many times you were listed in the bottom 5. Not a super fantastic way to start your weekend. The one name most frequently listed in the bottom 5 every Friday is immediately ejected from training. No ifs, ands, or buts, no. Appealing to the empathies of the Human Resources Department. Because guys, we don't have a Human Resources Department in SEAL training. I'd always complain like, this shit sucks, who do I complain to? They didn't have a complaint box either. You got wet and sandy, that's what you got. We take this notion of accountability extremely seriously. And if you think about it, those names landing in the bottom 5, it's not because they're not the fastest swimmer, not the best shooter on the sniper range, not the fastest runner. It's what? Attitude, effort, moral and ethical issues, ego problems. They're not good communicators. Basically, someone you do not trust and would not want to be standing next to in a gunfight, because they'll probably be running the other way. We take this notion with us, all of us have, especially those who have gone down range. We take this with us to the battlefield. When you're on patrol, enemy territory, each and every warfighter is responsible for owning a what? Your field of fire. The area you are accountable for protecting should the enemy attack. And that's the great thing about the notion of accountability and trying to achieve a culture of accountability in any organization, is because when everybody's owning their field of fire, you don't have to worry about anything outside your field of fire. It creates an overlapping web of performance. It has an absolutely direct impact on efficiency, productivity, growth, and profitability on any business organization in the world. So what does this look like? How do you not just create a culture of accountability, but how do you align an organizational culture with what you're trying to achieve as an organization? I broke it down here into what we refer to as a results pyramid. So you see here at the top we have R1 versus R2 results. So the R1 results are the results you're achieving as an organization today. The R2 results are the results you need to be achieving, the desired results to fulfill your vision, to successfully navigate the changes you're going to. The next layer is the actions. What are the actions that everybody in the room, that all of us need to proactively take that align with achieving those desired results? We're getting a little deeper here. What are the beliefs, the behaviors, and the mindsets, and the values that we need to naturally and authentically embody that drive us to proactively take those actions to get the results? And then what are the cultural experiences? What are the rituals that we have in our organizations that drive those core values, that drive the beliefs? For example, this is a cultural experience. This is a ritual that drives the belief that we value our military veterans, that they're important to the organization, they're important to our growth and the desired results we're trying to achieve. So what is one of the number 1 results in the military that we have to achieve at all times? Readiness, right? Probably a number 1 result, being ready to go into battle at a moment's notice. My task unit from SEAL Team 5. We were the very first task unit of 40 SEALs who went into Iraq in April 2003 to perform what we call capture or kill missions, basically hunting down the guys on the deck of cards, blacklist, other various insurgent faction leaders. In our first 6-month deployment, we did 174 capture or kill raids, 174 combat missions in 6 months. So do the math, sometimes 2 or 3 in a night. We'd get done with one mission, we'd get intel from a guy that we captured on that target. 30 minutes later, we've got another target. So you can imagine how readiness was kind of important, a little bit. So obviously one of those actions that need to be taken is, of course, to ensure that the gear, weapons, comms, all of your elements that help support the mission on the battlefield, make sure that they're all organized, clean, ready to go at a moment's notice. We start learning that from day 1 of boot camp, right? That's to achieve the result of readiness, of attention to detail and accountability. So the belief is, of course, that preparedness is the #1 priority. I have to authentically believe that the team's preparedness is our #1 desired result. So one of the rituals that we go through, and this isn't just contained within the Naval Special Warfare community, but we tout it, we do it from the day 1 of training, is the hierarchy and order and timing of which, in which we prepare our gear, weapons, comms, all of the equipment that we need to take on to the battlefield or into a training scenario. It's the timing and hierarchy in which we do it. So it doesn't matter, of course, you guys recall this from your service, if you've been in the field for 4 days, limited sleep, in combat, had people injured, people killed, in a training scenario, you've been at SEER school, you haven't eaten in a week. As soon as you've been at SEER school before? Damn, I think I'd go through buds again, and that shit. Anyways, you don't eat for an entire week. So, anyways, oh, and then you get waterboarding. 2 great combinations, by the way. So as soon as you get back from any mission, any training scenario, you drop your gear and weapons, you go into a room to do a what? After action review debrief, learn what we did right, what we did wrong, how we're going to do it better. Then you immediately, of course, go into gear and weapons preparation. We start with team level gear, so the big picture stuff. Then we go to troop level gear, then platoon level gear, your own personal gear and weapons. And of course, then and only then are you going to go take a shower, get something to eat, go to bed, or call mama back at home. It's a cultural experience that we have, and it's pretty much, I would say, wouldn't you agree, that's sort of a military-wide belief, that readiness, the team's needs come before my own selfish desires. That's a cultural experience that achieves that desired result. And I'm emphasizing this in that way because when you guys are going through all the changes that you're going through, there's a bit of culture transformation that has to happen to ensure those desired results happen. And one of the ways you can do that is by focusing on this type of results pyramid, and even manufacturing very specific cultural experiences or new rituals that will achieve the desired results you're trying to accomplish. These pictures sink in for 1 second. My last tour was in Africa. This young man right here is Iron Mike. Unfortunately, the late Iron Mike, but that's a different story. I raised him from infancy when I was in Africa, when I wasn't out operating or training. I found him on the side of the road on a run one day. His mom had been unfortunately hit by a Jeep. And naturally, I thought it was a great idea to scoop him up, put him in my shirt, and take him back to base. Then I'm like, shit, I'm stuck with this monkey. So when I was at base, at night, he would sleep with me in my cot, either nestled in my armpit or on my chest. And how many people in here have kids? Or have had young kids too? In the morning, he would wake up, climb up onto my chin, squat my chin right here. He would grab my eyelashes with both paws, rip my eyes open, and scream in my face, "Hey Dad, wake up, it's time to eat." And then he would proceed to urinate on my neck. I was not well versed in potty training at the time. I now have 3 children, so I've gotten better at it. Iron Mike. And yes, that's a dog attached to my body as I jump out the back of that plane. You know what he's thinking right now? Man's best friend, my ass. Not a happy camper. I don't know what it is about plummeting at 130 miles an hour towards the face of the earth, but it takes a little getting used to. I know there's a lot of dog lovers in here. Some of you maybe even jump dogs, work with dogs in the military. They get treated better than we do, don't worry. I was in Dallas on a business trip, and Blue Squadron from SEAL Team 6 was there doing something called RUT, another acronym, Realistic Urban Training. And I met up with one of my buddies who used to be my roommate, and Bud's classmate. This is again where everybody's taxpayer dollars go to. Just so if you don't know, SEALs are the biggest divas in the United States military. We have a government credit card that's unlimited. I met them at the W Hotel, and not one of the mid-level W's, a fancy W Hotel in downtown. Everybody has their own room. We do not share rooms on training trips, just so you know. Everybody has their own rental car. And not a tiny one, an SUV. This is Tier 1 Special Operations. This is where our now taxpayer dollars go. And so we went into the bar. Of course, there was a few tables, about 187 empty beer bottles on them. They'd already gotten in 2 bar fights over the past 2 days. And my buddy who was a dog handler at the time, I was like, oh, cool, so does he get to sleep in your room with you? He's like, oh, no, he's got his own room. His own room! Dogs get their own rooms. So again, give yourselves a round of applause for, that's where your taxpayer dollars go. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yes, thank you. It's screwed. After my first tour in Iraq, the barracks at Bahrain were totally full. So they put us up at an intercontinental hotel for 3 weeks, all with their own room. And guys would still bitch because the pool bar closed at 11 p.m. Now I'm off on a tangent. I wanted to share with you guys, before we wrap up, a brief story about the notion of team and organizational trust and its importance. But this story is from my BUDS class's Hell Week experience. Hell Week is the 4th week of BUDS, so the 4th week of an 18-month training pipeline. It's the brutal crucible that all SEALs share that obviously few students make it through. And it starts on a Sunday, ends on a Friday afternoon. And the beauty of that Sunday is the class will report to the classroom. It looks probably about half the size of this room. And they'll report to one of the main classrooms early in the morning on Sunday. Just a couple required items in their possession. And the beauty of that day, and this is by design, is the class has no idea when Hell Week will commence. So you're just sitting there stewing in your own anxiety, anguish. It's eating away at your soul. It's the weird dichotomy of the fact that it could possibly be one of the worst weeks of your entire life. Yet you just want it to begin. So by way of motivating and inspiring us, our class leader, John, your class leader is going to be the highest ranking naval officer in the class. One of the things he did was to read to us the St. Crispin's Day speech from William Shakespeare's Henry V. And he read aloud those famed lines that say, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. And those men afraid to go will see themselves as lesser men, as they hear of how we fought and died together." John died 4 days later. It was about 4.5 days into Hell Week. There was about 30 of us left of the 250, and we were in full gear, no fins, in an Olympic-sized swimming pool doing relay races. And we were performing a wonderful evolution called the Caterpillar Race, which, again, this is BUDS, not as cute as that sounds. Your boat group of 7 guys is in the water, in a line, stacked like this, swimming backwards, except I would have my legs wrapped around the waist of the guy in front of me. His legs are wrapped around the waist of the man in front of him, and so on and so forth. You can picture this, right? Even fresh out of the gate, this is a very difficult evolution to enact properly, to keep your heads above water, much less beat the other boat crew to the other side of the pool. Everything in Hell Week essentially is a race against the other crews. Long story short, John suffered a massive heart failure, exacerbated by the rigors of the Hell Week experience, and drowned in the pool right next to us. But that far into Hell Week, your body is so brutally beaten down, you're hallucinating so violently from a lack of sleep, nobody actually had any idea what was happening at the time. So they got us out of the pool, they ran us back across the street to the Naval Special Warfare Center and put us in the classroom where we waited. We noticed that John wasn't there, but just figured he was getting briefed on the next evolution, or getting yelled at about some infraction of his leadership capability. And a couple hours later, the doors to the classroom open up, the instructor staff walked back in, but with him was the commanding officer of BUDS at the time. And he wasted no time, walked straight to the front of the room, turned around and addressed the class. He said, "Gentlemen, listen up. Lieutenant John Scott was pronounced dead at 1 a.m. Lieutenant Barrato, you're taking over as class leader." And he said it with that level of candor, I believe, purposefully. He paused for a minute to let that sink in. And then he broke that silence by saying something I'll never forget. He said, "Gentlemen, get used to this feeling you have right now. This is what it will be like in the teams. You will lose teammates. You have to learn to control your emotions, stay focused on the mission, and trust each other no matter what happens, especially amidst adversity and chaos. And if this was a movie, that would be something you call foreshadowing. Because literally a few months later was 9/11, 2 days before we started advanced training. And that's, of course, as you guys recall, when we all knew we'd be going to war, where team trust would be at a premium. So think about the notion of trust as part of an organizational culture, an organizational environment, especially in change and chaotic environments. How important is trust in this organization? Like accountability, like culture, is it a nice-to-have social variable? A less important management strategy? Or does trust drive the health, productivity, and efficiency of any organization? Human Capital Institute performed a study called Building Trust 2013, Workforce Trends Driving High Performance. And a key data point that came from that survey was that organizations that they defined as high-performance organizations, basically companies that continue steady growth, building shareholder value and whatnot, positive returns, those companies have employees that believe their leaders and managers, and again, I'm talking about leadership-wide, regardless of rank, title, or tenure, they believe their leaders and managers to be highly trustworthy individuals. People who walk the walk, talk the talk. Words match actions consistently day in and day out. We live the core values of the organization, both on and off the battlefield. Promises are fulfilled. And the two areas that trust affects most in any organization, military, business, sports, are productivity and engagement. Since we already established that engagement can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, but also a great opportunity, one might theorize that in many organizations out there, trust is either not valued, or more typically from what I've seen, it's just not properly managed or measured. It's not given enough attention. And more Gallup research from last year shows that employee disengagement here in the United States, oftentimes due to low levels of internal trust, a lack of discipline and accountability of leadership, cultures that don't align well with the strategy and desired results. That employee disengagement costs us upwards of $550 billion a year in lost productivity. So I think we can conclude that the notions of leadership and culture, aligning culture with strategy, improving trust and accountability, these aren't soft-side management strategies. They're not nice to have social variables, but they drive the health, productivity, and efficiency of any organization. So in closing, I want to share a brief poem with you guys. This poem is widely shared in the Naval Special Warfare community. We really believe it embodies our mindsets, how we approach life and work. And the poem was originally authored by Chief Tecumseh. He was a Shawnee war chief during the War of 1812 and around that time. And the poem is titled Death Song, but I really want you to listen to these words because it's really much more a metaphor for life. There's another SEAL movie called Act of Valor, not based on a true story, but in this movie, the platoon commander, before going down range, writes one of those letters that I'm sure some of you have written to his baby son, and he includes this poem as a part of advice for his baby son's life. Later on in the movie, they're in a horrific gunfight. Grenade is thrown into the room they're clearing. Without hesitation, that platoon commander jumps on that grenade, sacrificing himself for the team. I have a SEAL brother who did the same thing. Medal of Honor recipient Michael Mansour. His sniper helmet was on the second floor of a building in Ramadi, Iraq during the heat of the war. All of a sudden, a grenade came in through the window, thrown by an enemy fighter from outside. It literally hit him in the chest, bounced onto the floor, rolled a few feet away. And naturally, of course, you can picture this, he had teammates on his left, teammates on his right. He also had a big empty stairwell right behind him. He's literally the only person in that room who could have saved his own life. Instead, he jumped forward, sacrificing himself for the team. The poem's called Death Song. Live your life so the fear of death never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion. Respect others and their views. Demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and of service to your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day you go over the great divide. Show respect to all people with grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the light, for your life, your strength. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies within yourself. When your time comes to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death. Pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. See your destiny. Die like a hero. While I realize that poem is titled Death Song, we listen to those words. It's not about death. It's about life. Living our lives to the fullest extent, creating and seizing every opportunity we have for better. Not just better for our own selfish desires, of course. Who knows that better? Better for the organizations we're a part of, the teams and people we lead and inspire, our communities, our families, bettering the lives of those around us, and maybe one day, making this world a little bit better place than we found it. So ladies and gentlemen, as you step forth onto your battlefield, together as a team, setting and achieving lofty goals, navigating change and disruption, pursuing excellence, innovation in everything you do, and achieving maximum performance, remember these three things. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Push the boundaries and confines of your comfort zone every chance you get. The more you do, the wider that area becomes. In my experience, and I think you would agree, it's outside of our comfort zone. Magical opportunities to pursue themselves. Next, remember, as we say in the SEAL teams, we have a hell of a lot of sayings, people. Remember, the only easy day is yesterday. There are no easy days for high-performance organizations pursuing an existence of excellence. Our lives, our work are full of challenges. We simply have to face those challenges head on, controlling what we can and ignoring what we can't. Lastly, my friends, I ask that you be all in, all the time. Ask yourself every day, at what level am I willing to participate in this organization, in this life? No matter what challenges you face, whether they be here at work, at home, with your spouse, your family, kids, even horrible things like divorce, illness, finances, death. Not if, but when you get knocked down, get back up. Every time. Never, ever be out of the fight. God bless you guys. Good luck in your journey. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you.